Probably not. No, they're good kids. They're fine.
I am a little bit embarrassed to say that the 30 plus years of ministry, I started preaching when Tammy was pregnant with Jacob, and so he's going to be 31 this year, so I don't know the math very well. But I wandered down the wrong path quite often when it came to counseling people. You know, as a preacher, for whatever reason, people come to you and, you know, you have to take counseling classes when you go to college to be a preacher and all that. And so it's just kind of a cultural role that people come to you and they ask for help, and you kind of get it into your head, well, I've got all this biblical knowledge, I've got all these degrees, you know, you kind of feel like an expert. And you look at what's going on and you say, I know what the problem is, here's what you need to do. This is what you need to do, right? And that's been a big mistake. And looking at today's passage helped me kind of crystallize my thoughts, you know, because when people come to me for marriage advice, they come to me for work relationships, whatever it is, you know, and I devoted a lot of time to something that's necessary but insufficient. Okay? Telling you how to. Well, here's how you fix that problem. Here's what you need to do. And I was wrong. I neglected a more significant approach. Instead of saying, you know, be kinder, be more loving, do this, pitch in the house, whatever it is, I settled for method over motivation. I tried to give people a method and an action and a plan when I should have given them a why. If you have the right why, everything else is going to fall into place. I can tell you what to do, and I might even be right once in a while. My dad told me 3 things growing up. And I don't know why he repeated these things to me, but he would say, son, it's better to be thought a fool than open your mouth and remove all doubt. And then he would say, son, use your head for something other than a hat rack. And then he would say, well, even a broken clock is right twice a day. I don't know. Go dad. So I was wrong. I kept telling people what to do and how to do it, but I didn't give them a good why. And I wish I had it through the years. Solomon, in the book of Ecclesiastes, has been negative, pessimistic, cynical, tells us how unpredictable life is, how unfair life is. It's chaotic. And at the end of the day, he comes down to this question of, he doesn't say it out loud. You're reading between the lines, but really, if you look at the book closely, and we kind of have for the last, 18 years it feels like, why bother? What's the point? Remember, we began Ecclesiastes, and Solomon explained how he's the king over Israel. He's the wise guy. He's got all the affluence. And he said, I decided I would deny myself nothing. Remember? He gave himself over to every pleasure, every building project, all that he wanted to do. And he just came back time and again and said how vain, how pointless, how useless all of this is. And over, it's the chasing after the wind, it's pointless, it's vanity. And so when you read through the lines, it's like, why? Why bother? And he comes up with that. That's what we're going to look at today. Why? When life is unfair, unpredictable, chaotic. Solomon says, good people and bad people, same thing happens to them. Righteous people, don't be so righteous. Bad people, don't be so bad. But guess what? You're going to get smacked down one day. Your day is coming. Why bother? On and on and on. And he gives us a why, but he doesn't follow the same mistakes I did. He doesn't try to give you a how-to. He doesn't try to tell you what to do. He gives you what's more important. why I believe everything else comes together. At least, you got the motivation to follow through on how. Now I'm going to do something today that I don't typically do. Preach. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to do something I don't typically. When I go through a book of the Bible, I like to cover almost every verse. I definitely like to cover every chapter. Last week we finished chapter 9. Today we're going to go to chapter 12. I'm skipping chapters 10 and 11. I encourage you, go home and read it on your own time. Why am I skipping chapters 10 and 11? Because we would spend another 8 to 12 weeks in those two chapters. They're proverbial sayings, lots of little one-liners. And I would almost have to just take each verse at a time, and I just don't have the patience for it. I don't. And I doubt you would have the patience for it. And you could lie to me and say, oh yes, Craig, keep going. We love it when you get bogged down in the weeds like that. Beneficial. Everything in the Word of God is beneficial. But I want to get to the punchline. I'm impatient. You know, the question is, what if the Hokey Pokey is what it's all about? I want us to look at Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and see what it is all about. What is life all about? Why bother getting out of bed and putting your shoes on in the morning when you don't know what's going to happen throughout the day? And even if you did everything right in all the right ways, it's not going to turn out the way you want it to. That's Solomon. That's life. That's experience. It's a pathetic life filled with regrets, according to Solomon. There's setbacks, right? The world promises you, but then like Neil Young saying, you buy this, but they give you that. They sell you this, but you pay for that, right? So, what's life all about? Number one, Solomon's going to tell you, avoid procrastination. I saw this past week on Facebook, one of the kids we went to college with, and he says, April is Procrastination Awareness Month. Get it? Because we're in August. All right. Remember also your Creator in the days of your youth. Don't wait for your deathbed to come to grips with the idea that you didn't just be a random cosmic accident in the universe. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth before the evil days come and the years draw near, which you say, I have no pleasure in them. My aches and pains have aches and pains. I'm old, and I know I look like I may only be 35 years old, and I feel like I'm about 85, right? Solomon says, don't wait to connect with your Creator. Don't wait. The pathetic world is going to disappoint you. You're going to get old, and pretty soon, the things that you thought would be rewarding and enjoyable will no longer. Look, the things of this world, listen to me. The stuff of the world will not satisfy. You're going to pour 40 years of your life into a career, and when you die, that next day they're going to replace you. Think about this. You want to know what's a sobering thought? Even as young as Willow is, she's a year old, 100 years from now, no one's going to know our name. Tell me your great-grandparents' name. Betty, you're probably the only one in the room that knows their family genealogy better than the rest of us, right? But for most of us in here, tell me your great-grandparents' name. Tell me what county they lived in. Nobody knows. Guess what? Nobody cares. No one's going to care about you. 100 years from now, this building probably won't be here. What was here 50 years ago? The biggest press in America, the largest paper union in America. What happened to them? Too big to fail? I don't think so. Sobering thought. The world is going to come crashing in, and so avoid procrastination, especially with your relationship with God, because that's where the real satisfaction, that's where contentment, that's where fulfillment has. And then he's going to go, listen, into great detail about the aging process and the day that you get snuffed out. Wow, Craig, way to bring the room down. Solomon's going to bring it back. But you got to go through the valley before you get to the mountaintop. So remember your Creator, and I love that idea. He doesn't just say, think of a higher power. Think of a deity. The idea of God being Creator means He brings you into existence. Therefore, He has dominance, authority, sovereignty, because He's created us. It's a wonderful way to look at God that most often, in our desire for a cosmic Santa Claus to grant our genie in a bottle wishes, we overlook. We think about God as the one who can, oh, well, get me out of this pinch, God, or, heal this person, God, or do this thing, God. But we forget He is our Creator. So remember Him. In the days of youth, start early, right? The years will draw, I have no pleasure in Him. Before the sun, look at verse 2. Before the sun and the light and the moon and the stars are darkened and the clouds return after the rain. Think of the seasons of your life, right? You're a young person. Now you're going into your summer months, your fall, and now you're in your twilight years. No one wants to think about it. The Psalm says better. In the day when the keepers of the house tremble, the strong men are bent, the grinders cease because they are few, and those who look through the windows are dim, like cataracts on the eyes. The way you see the world, right? You used to move along, young and spry and energetic and powerful and unstoppable, and now guess what? Your days are coming to a close. The doors on the street are shut when the sound of the grinding is low, and no one rises up at the sound of a bird, and the daughters of song are gone. Oh, your hearing is gone. Your vision is going. Your hearing is going. Right? They're afraid also of what is high. Verse 5. They're afraid of what is high, and terrors are in the way. And the almond tree blossoms, the grasshopper drags itself along, and desire fails. Right? Ooh. You're afraid if you fall, you might break a hip. Or twist your knee out. That's old age for you. It used to be cast. It's only going to get worse.
This is an urgent.
You know what I tell people? Gunner may have heard me tell us. We'll be pumping concrete. If I pop on a wall, I say, listen, at my age, they don't take you to the hospital. You fall and get hurt. It's like old yelling, right? All right. What is high, right? You're afraid of heights. The almond tree blossoms, right? It's past the fall now. The grasshopper drags itself along. Desire fails. The things that you once craved, pretty soon, you're like, not that interesting. Because man is going to his eternal home. The mourners go about the street. Before the silver cord is snapped, this idea of what's connecting you to your soul, right? What is it that's within you? Before the golden bowl is broken, or the pitcher is shattered at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern. The dust returns to the earth as it was, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. Vanity of vanity, says the preacher. All is vanity. You're going to die. What's the point? Well, the conclusion is clear. Connect early on with your Creator. I'll admit it, I'm as guilty or more guilty than anyone in this room. I love sarcastic meanings. I know it's wrong. Scott, wipe that grin off your face. Because I know you're right behind me. Maybe we should just sing Just As I Am and have an altar call. Yeah. I can't help it. I know it's not right, but I love sarcastic memes. And our culture actually has switched to where we communicate in memes, right? I don't know why, but we use memes now as a source for current events and up-to-date news, and we look at it and we share these, right? I mean, if you look at Tallis and mine's text thread, I mean, most of it's like guns and tyrants and bad government stuff like that. So I mean, I don't want you to be like wondering what are they really texting me? I mean, like the one I shared with them last week, you know, at one time, well, never mind, it was tyrants and gun control and overthrowing governments. But anyway, all right, are you following me? We communicate through means. Guess how the ancient world communicated advice, insight, knowledge, wisdom. We have lost somehow the art of being able to depend on wise sayings. Well, look at me, I just skipped chapters 10 and 11. So I guess I'm to blame, right? Proverbial sayings, wise sayings. We've given up on that. And Solomon says, look, there is value in the people who study wisdom and sage, wise people and collecting them and passing them on. Besides being wise, the preacher also taught the people knowledge, weighing and studying and arranging many proverbs with great care. The book of Proverbs, 31 chapters. A lot of that is from Solomon, right? And the preacher sought to find words of delight, and uprightly he wrote words of truth. We live in a day and age where people think they are all experts, and they believe that their truth and your truth are equally valid. Right? What's true for me isn't true for you. Right? Well, if there's no such thing as absolute truth, is that statement, there's no such thing as absolute truth, absolutely true? No. It's self-defeating. But this is where we are. This is where we live. This is the context of our culture. And we shortchange ourselves by not appreciating the ideas of wise, wisdom, of words that are collected over the age, that have passed the test of time, so to say. Right? Solomon says he found words not only that were useful, but delightful. Right? They're good for the soul, they're good for the body, and they're based on a foundation of reality. It corresponds. The truth is there. But it's not easy. Just like, are you guys still going to Planet Fitness? All right, good. Keep it up. Do you ever get tired after you go in? Oh, yeah. Anybody do any yard work? Chase kids around the house? Anytime there's some type of exercise or activity, you're wore out. Solomon says it's the same thing, right? When you're trying to think. Gunner, you tired of school yet? What, not even a month in yet, buddy? You got a ways to go. Not to depress you, buddy. The words of the wise are like goads. That's that cattle prod. Right? We're going to poke them and get them to go in the right direction. Doesn't feel good, but it moves them along, right? And like nails firmly fixed are the collected sayings that are given by one shepherd, right? My son, beware of anything beyond these. The making of many books, there is no end. And much study is a weariness of the flesh, right? You're worn out. Exhausted. That pointed stick drives both man and beast. The collection of these sayings, putting it together. Kind of like struggling through listening to several weeks of sermons on Ecclesiastes. But now, after months of going through a toilsome and troublesome book, the grand conclusion about what the Hokey Pokey is all about. I did like your comment, by the way, Scott. I'm glad you turned your life around.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. That was clever. Now, as the old saying goes, after all is said and done, what is the conclusion? What is the why? Solomon doesn't give us the how to, the what to. He said, I tried it all. I got the t-shirt, been there, done that. None of it filled me up. Left me empty. Actually, left me less than. So what is the why? What is the true why that will open the doors to all your how-tos and what-tos and fill in the blanks? Here's the end of the matter. Solomon says, all has been heard. This is my conclusion. This is my why. Fear God and keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. This is why your Creator created you. that you could be submissive to him, that you could be obedient, that you could cooperate, that you could partner, that you could join with him, that you could be with him, right? So you fear God, respect him, honor him, observe him, listen to his commandments, the things that he tells you, they're for your own good. Well, no one's going to tell me what to do. You're not the boss of me. Everyone looks at commandments as if they are oppressive. They're guardrails. They keep you from going off the cliff. They're put in place as safeguards. They're there to help you, right? You think about any of the commandments, and you think of it as not a prohibition to suppress you, but something that can make your life more fulfilling and better. This is the whole duty. This is your whole purpose. This is why you're created. For God will bring every deed into judgment with every secret thing, whether good or evil. This is the why. This is what opens the door, right? Solomon says, find God in your youth because you're preparing right now. You are in preparation for eternity. And that cord is going to be snapped. That picture is going to be shattered. That soul is going to evacuate that corpse. It's going to be cremated, eaten by worms. It's going to disintegrate. It's going to be gone. You're going to enter eternity. So, that's the why. Thank you. Thank you for suffering through several weeks or months, maybe even feels like years now, going through Ecclesiastes. I hope you found something meaningful in it. I hope that you found something beneficial in it. I hope there's something in the book of Ecclesiastes that's triggered, even if it's just 1% of 1% of spiritual growth. I'll take that as a win. If it's shaped your thinking in any way, in any small way, and if it has triggered in you, I hope if it's triggered within you a pause, a time of reflection, where you would consider what value is there in old ancient wisdom? What is there in the Old Testament that could be useful for me to have a better perspective and a better path in life? If it's done any of that, then I feel it's time well spent. Let's stand and sing.